Hi, hey! Apparently, we are on the air. Okay, so you know what I should do is I should probably take uh, the instant use thing and put it in Skype chat too. Hang on just one second, folks. Generic webinar live link there. And let me see where Skype is. If you all want to come hang out, we're live now. Okay, cool. All right. Excellent. Okay. Woo! Attendees, let's see who's on. We have people on the air. We have Bobby, we have Alex, we have Phil, we have Scott, we have Terry, we have Keith, and Janet. Who's Janet? I don't know who Janet is.
And
All right,
comment.
so Dan, this was your silly ass idea.
Yes, it was my crazy idea to do this, and I'd like to thank all of the members that are here and the members that aren't here that told me this would be an awesome thing to do. I realized you got very little notice on this, and what we're really trying to do here is just do a dry run and make sure we figure out everything that's going to break before we do the big time real show next week, where we've got guests lined up and scheduled. Well, you'll be the guests. But so let's go ahead and unveil the name. Leslie, you ready?
Oh God, you haven't told me that. So now
Oh, I know, but that's so that I can, change it if you don't like it.
oh,
But
okay, sure.
first,
Okay.
um, first I get to let me hope I'm doing this right. So it's the Marketer's Braintrust Hour of Power.
Hour four. Okay. So you did say we get to change that, right? That's good.
That's the Hour of Power.
Is
Yeah,
that
so
an acronym or
we
something?
can.
'Cause
Nice spelling.
power.
Spell check didn't tell me there was anything wrong with it, so if there's a problem, I got a problem with Microsoft.
Oh, well, I have many problems with Microsoft, least of them being spelling, but okay, sure.
So, if we need to fix anything, did I spell hour wrong? Is that Hower?
The hour's good. That's pretty good.
Okay, so, and that's because in just a minute, somebody's going to have to drink because we are going to mention that forbidden name. So, so before we go to the audience and see who wants to talk, and I'll explain in a little bit how we're going to try and get folks scheduled for this ahead of time. I thought we'd run through some of the news. You okay with running through some of the news, guys?
Oh, let's do news. Sure.
Sounds good.
Well, I think I come up with an acronym for power. Go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, here in the hour of poor, Leslie's already gotten started, I can see. So Google's been kind of busy and very busy, and so this isn't all just from the last week, and it's by no means comprehensive in terms of what's been going on, but there are a couple things that we thought would be very relevant to you folks, and one of them is the new call-out extensions that that Google is letting us use now in our ads, and it's basically a free line of text that highlights kind of your bullet value points. I think if you're using it right, you'll find that that probably works out the best. The extensions do need to be approved by Google. That's generally speaking about as fast as getting an ad approved, which means it's almost instantaneous. And you can do things like, say, free 2-day shipping or live 24/7 help, stuff like that that you might have added into your main ad copy before, but now with an ad extension that does those callouts for you, you can get that extension approved and then use it across kind of the whole range of your ads, and so that essentially gives you more words to paint with when you're writing your ad text, and it doesn't all have to be about that same boilerplate stuff that you'd want to tell everyone. This kind of matches up neatly with the extra line that Google throws into the shopping ads, for lack of a better name for them. And that's another area where Google's been making some changes. Everybody's shopping campaigns or product listing ad campaigns will now have been upgraded to shopping campaigns. That'll mean that either you upgraded manually ahead of time, or you waited until after the fact and you were upgraded automatically, or as we've had happen with now two folks, we did the manual upgrade, completed that process, and then Google randomly selected one or more of our shopping campaigns to duplicate. Not a big deal to get rid of. You just have to stop one of them and you're able to carry on. But if you've got them, you should definitely check and make sure that that upgrade went smoothly, especially if you weren't looking at it. And if you don't know how to make use of the new features in shopping campaigns, we'll be back talking about that some more pretty soon. But there's definitely a lot of cool stuff that's very easy to do, especially if you want to be able to call out single products and put specific bids on those. That's so easy to do now in an ad group, and all you really have to control with the ad group is what that offer text says. So probably don't need to dive too much deeper into that, but the cool new bit that they finally gave something back to the world is in search. We now have support for the search actions, so you can actually have a site search box as a site link, but it's not what Google used to do with the Google site search box. It actually can be your site search. If you're using WordPress and you've got Yoast SEO, that's probably the markup that enables that has probably already been turned on automatically. But it is something where if your search is better than Google's search, then you'd probably rather use your search than Google's.
Well, now let's talk about that a minute, Dan, because I was just having this conversation with one of our private clients a couple days ago about whether or not he should turn that on. This is a friend just across the border to the north. And so what's actually required to make that happen? So it sounded to me like, and I think you just confirmed that you have to have Google site search enabled on your site as a prerequisite to make that happen, right?
No.
Oh, okay. I got it wrong. Okay, go ahead.
No, but the way this works, and you can literally you turn it on in Yoast SEO if it's not turned on by default. But what Google's doing now with the search action support, it's in schema. So the search action thing is something you can tell Google you've got, and then they can pull in the search box and take the search query that's typed into Google and feed it to your site search.
And so it's really just kind of like adding site : your domain to the search query.
Except no, but the results that are returned aren't Google's anymore. They are your search results from your internal site search.
Okay, so how do you set that up? That's
schema markup on your pages to let Google know that that functionality is available.
Okay, but they're building sort of a side database from the schema markup to drive that. I mean, because
yes,
yeah, wow. Okay, that's
when did I tell you that they were quite obviously either going all in on schema or had some insane plan we couldn't comprehend? I mean, more and more we see what they're doing is lined up with schema. I think they're trying to take control of that.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, well, we definitely need to put a mini course together on that, right?
Well, if you're on WordPress, it's a check the box in Yoast SEO, but I think we need to think about what are the implications. And for one thing, site search is something that a lot of sites do very badly, and it is very costly for them to do badly. I mean, that's why we brought those folks out to Brainstorm last year to talk about their site search because it's a huge area of opportunity, a huge area of lost income. I know, painfully so for retailers.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Well, that's a pretty good deal. And I think that I'm sure they just rolled it out, so we'll find out. But I'm sure they've been testing it like they have everything else. But that search box within the organic listings and the AdWords listing, that's got to get a lot of attention, I should think.
Well, it's going to show up when you actually merit site links. So on a response, so it's not necessarily going to be there all the time.
Right.
But you can certainly imagine a lot of places where this wasn't the right page, Google, but I know it's the right site. And so we don't know yet how people are going to interact with that, but I mean, the fact that they did this indicates that people were probably interacting with the other one.
And the other thing is, even if you interact with it, it means that if you get site links, now you've pushed everybody down that many more pixels.
Yeah.
More real estate.
Sure, the
More real estate.
180 pixels that you got pushed down by the more ads at the top isn't nearly as much as that satisfaction of knowing that you got them another 30 down below you. So it's all about trying to climb the stack of turtles.
Totally.
Okay, so let's see if we got any more. Well, yes, we do have some more news. So let me.
So we should make sure that people know how to ask us questions.
That's true. You should let them know that while I figure out how to use screen share again.
Yeah, please do that. So, in case you don't know, we're like highly experienced at Hangouts and the Webinar Jam platform. We're just feigning ignorance so that you don't feel left behind. You're right. And so, on the right-hand side, as you look at it, you should see Dan's screen, and you also see a right-hand column there that has like chat and I don't know, pop-ins or something like that, or attendees. And so you can look at that stuff, but chat should be the one that's open, and you can see there an invite from me that says if you have questions for the panel, that's our highly official terminology for the four of us, then you should ask them here. And so, we do that, and we can answer questions while Dan now has figured out how to do screen share, so he can move on with his relatively short presentation.
I am a master of screen sharing on Google Hangouts now, Leslie. You can just mail that black belt over whenever you're ready. I mean, I wouldn't call it a martial art or even really much of an art. But so that was our Google news. Facebook has been very active, and there's one I didn't mention in here because, well, I thought I'd have time to actually do something more in depth to show you some of the numbers that people are starting to get from using Facebook video ads, but for now...
Dan, are you expecting us to be actually looking at the Facebook slide you have?
That was what I was hoping, yes.
Well, because we're actually looking at your title slide, so much for your black belt in video sharing.
Okay, but wait, how about now?
Not working for me, man. I'd love to help you out here, but...
Wow.
Must be the other display.
What do we see now?
That one looks good.
Okay, so now if I go to full screen again, okay, this is an interesting little hitch in the world of sharing screens. So now am I full screen?
If we wait a minute for it to catch up, maybe you are, but
no,
that's not working for me. But at least I can see the right slide.
So it says Facebook keeps on steaming.
Yes, as kind of like a pile of. Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay, so in other words, no, it's not working. We need to figure out how to make that work. So everybody has to wait for me to figure out how to make this work.
Okay.
That's how this works.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, I'll talk to Lisa here. This seems to be working well, except that I did not receive a reminder email with a link to the webinar. That would be nice if the software will do it. Well, Lisa.
It sure would if
some idiot. No. Well. The person in charge of technology at our company, it's kind of a lowest totem pole kind of a thing. It's like we all just like, who would like to be in charge of tech? And no one raised their hands. Like, all right, fine, I'll do it. But so it turns out that there are actually two ways to do that, and you do have to select one of them, or nothing happens at all. Strangely enough. So yes, when we'll do that correctly the next time. And we'll actually use that Infusionsoft thing that we know and love and pay lots of money for. So you will actually get reminders for the...
And it'll be like you'll even know about it like more than the day before and stuff.
Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, who wants to send that email? And Janet says, I'll do it. So, which is exactly what happened about 24 hours ago. So, yes, but we will get the reminder stuff done. Webinar Jam, to their credit, actually has that built in, so you can do it that way, or you can do it through your own quote-unquote autoresponder system, which is the way we'll choose to do that. Was set up in a real hurry yesterday afternoon just to test this out, and so somebody, that'd be me, didn't actually set it up. So, cool. Thanks for rubbing that in. Jeez.
Well then.
Okay.
So can we
now we're seeing full screen, Dan. So way to go.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you have to dump out of full screen and then, okay, anyway, that's fine. So Facebook has long had a policy against the practice of scraping user IDs off of groups and Facebook comments and things like that. But the policy didn't have a whole heck of a lot of teeth to it, and it doesn't have all of the teeth that it's going to have just yet. But they've, updated their policy statement on it to make it so that no one can possibly be confused that, no, that's not okay. So do not scrape user IDs from places, and do not build custom audiences of people that you don't have a relationship or permission to do so. As an added bonus, they also actually made it impossible to create a custom audience in the self-service ad interfaces, so that's either Power Editor or Ads Manager, with user IDs, unless you actually give them an app ID, which means that you have to register as a developer and, well, essentially hand them the club to beat you with if you're going to try that. A lot of folks have been seeing these Facebook privacy audits. It's a thing that they'll invite you as a user to, hey, go check on your privacy thing. And what a lot of people have discovered is that they've given a lot of permission to a lot of apps that they didn't know that they had given, and so Facebook is taking people through the process of doing that, and in that way they're finding some of the apps that have been more abusive, because there are a bazillion apps out there, and I don't think they have the manpower to police them all any more than Google has the manpower to police every link on the web. But users are also being asked to identify advertisers that are doing funky stuff. And so there are still people doing that stuff, but it's by the end of the year, I think the expectation here is that this whole thing will be stamped out, and all of the audiences that were created will have been squished to bits. So if you're running on that now, it's time to figure out how you're going to do without it, because it's coming fast, and I hope nobody was doing that, because it's just not necessary. So, and then when you do see an ad, a lot of people don't realize that little down arrow thing where you can use to go block, well, you can also say, why am I seeing this? And it will show you in great detail how you were targeted. So I saw an ad from AppSumo earlier. I went and asked, and it says that it wants to reach people who are interested in Frank Kern. That's what made this the hour of pour today, Leslie, and not the hour of power, because I'm sure somebody has to drink because we said Frank Kern. In fact, I did it twice, so go ahead and have two.
All right, good deal.
Frank Kern?
Yes, to Frank Kern.
To Frank. Okay.
It's worth noting real quick that does not always show up, but it shows up quite often, and I've been using it to actually find targeting on ads that are related to similar avatars.
That's it. Like, if you see an ad from a would-be competitor,
you click
look and see, how did they get me?
Yeah.
You can go and make fake profiles. Not that would be approved by the terms of service, but if you hypothetically did have another profile, and you knew how to use proxies and weren't dumb enough to get caught doing that,
that's a different presentation, Dan.
You might actually be able to see how who was able to target you based on what kinds of things you're identifying about yourself. Anyway,
it's kind of interesting that Noah figured out. I mean, he obviously did his research. As far as I'm aware, Noah has no relationship with Frank Kern, so that's kind of cool. The guys at AppSumo are, plugged in that well.
Well, it's undoubtedly audience insights telling them stuff like that from the audience that they have. So,
yeah.
At any rate,
Dan, I want to go back to the privacy audit thing, because you and I talked about this week for just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I went back through the privacy audit, and what I found out was that I had about 100 or 150 apps that I went through and I unapproved almost all of them. And I even unapproved like Kickstarter. But of the 150 I unapproved, only one sent me an email and said, did you mean to unapprove us? Because we think you want us to stay connected to your Facebooks. And so that was Kickstarter, and that's the only one who even acknowledged that I existed outside of the realm of Facebook.
Right. So only 1 out of 150 actually thought enough of you as a user. Of course, a lot of them don't think of you as a user at all. You're just ad data.
Right.
So
I don't know if any of our folks are using these apps for their businesses or not. Are they using these kind of apps they've set up?
well, I think more and more we're going to start to see a lot of membership and opt-in and stuff like that for premium content. Rather than ask for an email address, we'll just have people connect with Facebook or connect with Google Plus or Twitter to get permission to see content. And that's going to be almost like the new email opt-in is going to be that that permission to show up on your timeline thing instead. And by the way, completely bypasses the does my Facebook page have organic reach if you just get people to sign up for your app. But let's not talk too much about that too loudly because that'll get expensive if we do.
Well, in fact, I mean, already so many places you can log in with your Facebook or Google Plus ID or something like that. So it makes total sense. Makes total sense. I'm not sure how we would integrate that, for example, with our membership site. How we would make that happen because of the way we control sign-in stuff.
I'm thinking probably that for us that's more along the lines of stuff like webinars and webinar replays and things like that, where we eliminate the need for people to give us an email address to register, and they can just push a button and register socially through social events and stuff like that. There's a whole rich area that's only recently been built out into a usable state that we still have to kind of explore and figure out how to turn it into money.
Indeed. Let's see. So I don't see, other than Lisa pointing out a tip that we definitely will follow next time. I don't have any questions from the peanut gallery here. And so who's on that? We could just pick on something.
Well, we should at the very least test what happens if we bring somebody into the Hangout and make them talk to us. Let's get one person who actually is willing to talk to us.
Did you check Interactive Collab to see if there were any questions submitted through the question form?
Okay, that's a good idea. Let's see. We could do that.
That sounds like
insightful.
Let's do lifeline questions, right? Yeah, let's see here.
There's looks like possibly two.
Okay.
One at 12:50 and one at 12:35 Pacific.
Okay. Let me get there.
I've got one. Phil.
All right, go for it.
I'm going to ignore that one.
What?
Didn't Phil. I've heard conflicting opinions on the subject of positive or negative wording in a sales letter. I'm sure it's probably all context. Thanks, Phil. But wanted your expertise. I have heard that in self-help or in audiences that are very frustrated to use more positive phrasing. I've also heard more general statements to dig at those emotions. I realize that you may be able to do both, phrase things in a positive manner, but that tap into negative emotions. So if my math is correct, that is 5 possible variations, which is better in this context. These are people of children with disabilities. They are frustrated and probably leery. There are many other difficult effects of the problem. Linked is a draft of the sales letter I'm working on. The traffic is warm. They have at least downloaded an at-home assessment and have probably also seen several warm-up posts with retargeting.
Oh, that changes the answer a little bit. Okay.
And I'll drop that in the staff chat there, the sales letter.
No, we've talked about this a little bit. We haven't talked about it in a while. And Phil, you were one of our, back when we were, I guess last year when we were doing the masterminds for private clients, and I think we walked through it at that time, but maybe I'm thinking of another meeting, but a long-form sales letter, there's a certain standard templates that various people have put out there, and where we lead with the so-called big-ass promise, thank you, Frank, or what has been historically called the pain invocation. And you can go both ways. I personally like to lead with the big promise first in my sales copy, and then you get to the pain later. In fact, just recently, Ryan Dyson, his company, put out some content about this, about the sequence of emails where you kind of lead with greed, but you also bring fear into it. And ultimately, I mean, you do have to activate fear at some point, fear of loss, fear of continuing to have the problem, or whatever. Again, kind of one of the things Tony Robbins said: people do not change because the pressure to change is not high enough. Everybody understands that they need to lose weight, they need to be more fit, they need, but they don't actually need it, otherwise they wouldn't do it. What's really happened is that there's the secondary gains or other things that are barriers that cause them not to take these actions that they know they need to do. And so at some point you have to activate this fear that if you don't do this, either the same bad stuff that's going on is going to continue to get worse, or other bad stuff is going to happen. And so, if I'm gonna do a biz op piece, right, an opportunity seeker thing, then of course it's going to lead with greed. Make bazillions of dollars online and own a yacht. If you don't do this, the man's going to lay your ass off, and you're going to suffer and end up living in a trailer, and your wife's going to divorce you, and your kids will hate you. And so, you at some point you have to activate the fear. Now, if it's warm, okay, it changes a little bit, because they're already, to some extent, already bought into what your message is and know something about your product. You may not have to activate the fear nearly as much, because they already have gotten some content from you that, so presumably you've already spelled out why they need it, right? So Dan was looking pensive.
That's because I was pensaying. That's French for think. So, the invoking the negative, invoking the problem is good if you've got, right, if you can immediately pin the blame for the problem on something, and show them why, right? So, you always get clobbered over the head every time you walk into the supermarket. Well, maybe you shouldn't wear a hat with a duck on it. I don't know, but when you can immediately pin the blame, and in BizOp we've seen this in the right. Why aren't you making $1 million? Oh, it's because the gurus weren't telling you everything. They held secrets back. Here, I'll sell you the secrets. I've seen that one work. Makes me sick that it works, but it does. And there's certainly similar approaches that you can take, but that's kind of where if you're going to sort of lead with that with the problem, you have to then attach the problem to someone other than the reader, and then tell them that something has changed and they can have a solution, and then let them know what that solution looks like and what they have to do to get it, usually involving wallets and stuff.
Yeah.
For like another year or so before this Apple Pay thing takes over.
Yeah, then we won't need wallets.
Then you'll need to have a phone instead.
Exactly.
That's bad. Not knowing
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
better.
you can always, the first rule of copywriting is you want to, let's see, how does it say? You want to join seamlessly with the conversation that's already going on within your prospect's head, because they're already having a conversation with themselves when they hit your page. And so if they, you can actually do it either one of two ways. You can say, are you feeling stressed out and do you need to fix problem X? Or, who else wants to have these incredibly great benefits? And either one of those is going to merge within what's going on in the person's brain if they are in fact a prospect. And the wording of it should repel people who are not. And that's what you ultimately want. Now, if they're warm, you've already given them some content, then think about what the natural message arc is from what you've already given them. If you've already activated the equivalent of greed for your market, or you've already activated the fear for the market, then you go to the next step. So if you started with greed, then you try to motivate them by, you can have this if you can overcome whatever it is that stops you from doing it. And that's going to be different. If you started with a big problem and click here for the solution, now you have to convince them that in fact you have the solution and that it's an easy thing, it's not their fault, blah, 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 right? So whichever way you started there, you've got to continue the story so that you get all of the pieces covered. And in fact, there's a really good piece by Perry Belcher where he goes through all of the things that he has to. He analyzed all of his sales letters and did a weekend presentation after recordings of where his most successful sales letter hit every single item on this list. And it's a good laundry list of things to touch. You can skip them sometimes, but if you hit them all, that's all for the best. So, good question.
One thing about the assessment is if it's graded, that's a really easy way to. Did you score below a 30? Did you score below a 50? Easy way to point out the pain points for them.
True enough. Yeah, I mean, the more information that you have about your prospect, the more you can obviously target. And so, full disclosure, gee, why do we do surveys? Right? Some of you probably got an email recently that said, hey, are you still interested in X, where X was probably one of the things you checked in the survey. So things like that. Andy asked us here in chat, how do you like the Webinar Jam format? The 30-second lag can be a bit of a challenge, but otherwise seems good. Yeah, so between presenters, there's going on zero lag. That 30-second thing is about the distribution to non-presenters, and so that's a little bit tricky. And sure enough, when you ask a question, it's 30 or 40 seconds before we actually see the question. So that means we can't really do real time like we do in GoToWebinar. So hey, type yes in the chat box if you're interested in X. Can't really do that.
Right. Yeah. The way we're going to have to handle this for people that are going to be, talking about their questions on the call is we're going to get your question more than right before it starts, and we'll get you scheduled in as a panelist. So that you can be live in real time. You'll actually be in the future compared to your peers in the group. So be at least 30 seconds ahead of them. And I think relativity somehow works out when you get off the webinar that you get back in sync with everybody else.
There might be some deceleration. You might feel a little bit of
just a little queasy in your stomach. But no worse than what you get from looking at us.
Acceleration and deceleration, you might be a microsecond or two younger than everybody else, too. So that's another advantage of getting on the air with us.
Yeah, if you do it enough times, you could actually reverse aging.
I don't think you reverse aging.
I think you have to do it really fast, right?
Okay. Maybe faster than light. Yeah, we digress. Corey, you're looking at
rapidly digress.
Maybe faster than light. So
that's why we're all so young.
Do we have another unanswered question in Lifeline over there?
Walt just asked pretty much the same question Andy did, which was for Dan. Given your well-known opinions regarding the GoToMeeting, which I think Dan loves GoToMeeting.
That's what I heard.
I'd be interested in knowing what you think of Webinar Jam now that you've tried it.
Well, I've done Hangouts with other people before, and so I'm not the biggest fan of Google Hangouts or Google Hangouts on air, but my complaints about that are dwarfed by the abomination that is GoToWebinar, which surely in a just society would have already been banned from the marketplace.
If there was a God.
If there was a God, right? I mean, this pretty much, I don't know how I can have any religion anymore knowing that GoToWebinar still exists. I mean, that's pretty much a dead giveaway. Either that or we're just being punished. This is our punishment here on Earth is to use GoToWebinar.
Wow. That seems consistent with most of theology. Sure, yeah, that'll work.
I'm sure there's nothing in the Bible that specifically says it's not GoToWebinar's fault, and so I'm going to go with that. Yeah. So, I mean, the Hangout thing is it takes some getting used to. Webinar Jam is, it's got its own little set of quirks. But other than stuff that Leslie's broken, and he has consistently been able to break at least one thing every time we've used this, which is why it's taken us, I think, 3 weeks to get to a state where we are even willing to invite other humans and think that we wouldn't do them any harm by bringing them in, because you don't want a big data explosion getting all over everybody. Those ones and zeros just, they get in the cracks. It's so hard to get out.
Very tough. Yes, yeah, it was.
So I like it so far.
I blame Google Apps, by the way, but whatever. Yes. Yeah.
There's that, yeah. We made the mistake of giving Google money, and so they punish us by making their stuff work weird for us.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. But yeah, I like it compared to Google. To GoToWebinar. But on the other hand, I've screwed up both of them so many times that it's a great leap of faith to do a webinar at all, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, whatever. But anyway, why don't we get?
I'll just say, if you get Webinar Jam, read the manual. Helps.
And do it from a plain Gmail account. Do not expect. I mean, so our first iteration was using Leslie at Marketers Braintrust as the as super admin, in Webinar Jam. And after several iterations, where Michelle and I spent like an entire afternoon going on and off air, which we then had to go delete the dumbass cussing videos on it.
That's the thing is, when we screw up a test and Leslie's cussing like a Leslie, that automatically gets posted to our YouTube channel as soon as we're done. So you definitely want to watch that RSS feed.
Yeah, but we finally figured out. You know what? There is no way to make it work. And talking to the folks at Jam Central, and Donna Fox jumped in too, and helped me out with it. But there's no way to do it with Google Apps. It's just not going to function. So literally, we used one of our @Gmail accounts, and so then you run into the nastiness of how your YouTube channel is owned, which we're still futzing around with. And it's massively horrible. When Google made the transition to try to get to single sign-on for the web by forcing you to only use one Google account, right? It just screwed up everything, and we're still recovering from now which channel is that in, and will the real SEO Braintrust / Marketer Braintrust channel please identify itself? And so we're still actually in transition on that, but at least we figured out how to make the jam work. So that's a good thing.
And I believe I read something that Google finally is giving up. If you sign into any Google property, it counts for Google Plus, etc. I want to say I read that somewhere.
Now, so explain that, Corey? What do you mean by that?
Unless you already have a Google Plus account, Corey, then you're a logged-in user event, which they've made everybody. I mean, they can stop cheating in that way because they already cheated that way enough that now they get to cheat the other way. So whatever. This is mumbo jumbo monopoly math, and none of it means a damn thing out in the real world.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I didn't say damn, did I? Because that's going to go on the air, and people are going to think I'm
terrible.
You're going to get approved adult. Be careful.
I know, right? Oh my God! Don't get started on that.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Michelle. All right. So it's like we thought Google Apps was bad. No, it's AdWords is the real.
Yeah. You don't want to be negotiating with AdWords about whether aspirin is a prescription drug or not, like we are right now.
So cool. Is there another Lifeline question over there, Corey?
And if you guys wanted to test a panelist, I have a volunteer.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Well,
okay, so we think that all you have to do is copy that from the location bar, right? We talked about this the last time we tested this, right, Michelle?
Let's try it. What is the worst that could happen?
Well, it just hangs up and everyone goes home, so fine. And Dan blames you.
We'll just blame the roadie.
That's right.
I blame Phil. Phil told me to do this.
Yeah, Phil's all over this stuff, too. We should make Phil be the panelist. He's the one with the... But that's all right. Andy volunteered, so that's fine. Okay, so bring him on. Of course, Michelle, are you doing that?
No, because you're the super admin.
Oh, for God's sake! No, you can do it.
Can I do it? Okay.
Yeah. And he's your client, for God's sake.
All right. Let's see if I can figure this out.
It's in your location bar, so it starts with G503T6PUV7. I better stop.
Copy the address that's in your address bar. And give that to Andy. Don't make me beat you to it.
No, because Corey tested this with Roberta.
You clearly will, because maybe it wasn't me that helped test this part.
Let's see if I get it to Andy first. Bam!
I just got it to him.
Oh,
so close.
You know there was going to be a test.
Yeah, wow. The two of you were yammering, and Corey just quietly did it.
That's the problem with trash talking. You can take yourself off your own game,
That's right, guys. That's true. Yeah. So that's what you call a game, huh?
I take it very seriously, actually, Leslie. You may think of this as a hobby, but for me, it's everything.
Nice.
Hey, Leslie, have you deselected Dan as the poster boy for the presentation since his presentation is done? So it'll switch back and forth now?
Oh, you know.
Oh yeah, because it's been on Dan on my alternate screen here the whole time.
Oh, has it? Dan must have done. I blame Dan. I could do hide from broadcast. That'd be even better.
Wait, you're going to hide somebody, or you're going to go hide?
Yeah, right.
Andy said he's been revoked.
I can
You
make.
hit the wrong button. It wasn't me.
You see, I can make somebody. It's supposed to do the. It's supposed to just follow whoever's talking, right?
All right,
That
figure
was
out how to
me.
get
I
Andy.
accidentally banned him. I didn't know that was the ban button. I thought that was the chat with him button. Oops, sorry,
No.
Andy.
Let's try that again.
I just Skyped him the link, which hopefully he will see.
And people blame me for this stuff. I swear. Okay.
It involves letters and/or numbers, Leslie. That makes it tech. So yeah, pretty much your fault.
Letters and/or numbers. Okay. Great. So graphics, not so much.
Anything alphanumeric or digitally.
If I get an email with bad news, I mean, really, I wouldn't have gotten that if it weren't for you. So
Hey, there he is.
there's Andy.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Andy, welcome to the call.
He's muted.
Oh, hang on. He's muted. Why are you muted, dude? Let's unmute. You're still unmuted. You're still muted, I mean. Now. Talk to us. It's not working. I'm showing him muted on the control panel.
Same here.
Yep.
Maybe
Andy,
Andy has
you
to
might be
push a
muted
button.
yourself.
Dang, it's muted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Now we can hear you.
now.
All right.
It opens in your own TV set.
So yeah, it was muted.
So how do I I keep dropping in and out of this whole blue boxing thing. So Andy, talk to us.
How's everybody doing?
It's not automatically switching for some reason.
I guess, you know, I just did a hangout thing last night, matter of fact, with the Webinar Jam. So for my class, just playing around with it. And I jumped in with both feet, actually, with the Webinar Jam. And one thing I was wondering, because a lot of my students, I put in the chat room there, a lot of my students, I'd like to have them more live. And since I don't have a ton, I'd like to be able to have them in the live portion, you know, not with the 30-second delay, but at the same time have the benefit of the Webinar Jam where it goes live, or the Google Hangout on Air where it goes live, being able to pre-schedule it and that type of thing. So
you can just invite them all as panelists. I mean, that's how we're going to deal with. We're going to have some of our members in to talk, and we're just going to bring you in as a panelist. Invite you as a panelist for the event. And so, if you're teaching a small group, you can just make them all panelists. You've still got control. I mean, Leslie can mute me right now if he wants to, or he can even kick me out, apparently, as we did with you.
Right.
Sorry about that.
So I guess that would be the way to do that. It's just, but they're all going to have like a live sort of talking head at the bottom.
Yep. They'll be in what's called the film strip.
Yeah, and they can either, they can turn that on, they can turn their camera on, or they can just have it, just use their little picture from their Google Plus profile, which may look like Leslie's with the little circle head icon thing.
Okay.
Whatever that's
How
called.
many does it cap out on, panelist-wise? Isn't it like 10 or something?
I call a number like 16.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 in a hangout.
Is it?
I mean, I haven't hit that number yet, but.
But I mean, I think the way you could do that, Andy, would be to bring people in and then kick them out and bring the next one in. I mean, it's obviously they can click the link again. I mean, we sent you the link, right? So you could, if I kicked you out, you could still get back in. But I mean, I assume that these people are on a friendly basis with you, so they're going to recognize some decorum about what they should be doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think for the most part I can deal with the lag. It's just you got to basically say, all right, what are your questions, or even like the poll type situation you said a minute ago. you just got to say, okay, go ahead and type that in or whatever, and then you kind of just say, I'll give you a second to type all those answers in. So there is a real lag you got to deal with, but it's just for.
Well, if U+9 still fits, you can do them all as participants, all in the Hangout.
So that's a good idea too, but they may not want to be in a film strip. So I guess I'll give them that option.
Well, the thing is, they don't have to turn their camera on. They don't have to show their face at all.
Yeah, you just get in the jam interface, and I can probably take a picture of it somehow, but there's this. Well, you got this strip. It's actually part of the Plus.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the Hangout. It's not something that we can.
So there, I've turned my camera off, for instance.
Yeah, so there's like, so now Michelle is just a static image, and much like the Google Plus page.
She that person looks a lot more helpful though.
Oh yeah, totally right. Yeah, so this guy, and I don't know, oh, he changed back. Well, even scarier than the icon. So, but. No, so they don't have to, they can show up in their underwear. Everything else good. But yeah, I mean we put on clothes for this one, right? So, normally.
You did?
Well, that's what Dan told me to do. I don't.
But yeah, I mean it seems like a good format, and it, there are definite. I studied all the webinar platforms, and really Google Hangouts was one of the best that which isn't saying a whole lot, but I'm with you. I even looked at the one from WebEx, and that was terrible.
Yes.
As far as the interface. So, and for what I want to do, this just, especially with the money, it just seemed to make the best sense. So.
And free is an extraordinary price.
Yeah. The price is right. Well, plus the other side of it is, when you're all done, now it's in your channel. So if you just wanted to sit and do a 5-minute webinar every day, you're building that content, you're building up your channel, and you're creating more content for your business that you can use too. And it's practically seamless to get it done once you get the system down. Now it's just in the YouTube channel. Now you can take that and do whatever you want to do with it. But you can just consistently create content, video content that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that to be I think that long term that's going to be a big advantage if you continue to develop videos on there, and as far as having the Google Plus and the YouTube all interacting, it seems like that's the long term benefit. But of course, I think in the Skype room I put my challenges as far as getting all that to interact. Where having the Google page, I had like 3 of them, but I finally did get all that resolved. But just
that's the same set of hurdles we're in the process of jumping through. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately, ours was exacerbated by using Google Apps. I don't know if you use Google Apps for business or not, but ours was exacerbated by that.
We have a new question in the chat.
Oh, really? Let's see. Any thought on the new Rainmaker product from Copyblogger? Other than the fact that it's named newrainmaker.com. Anyone seen that?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either. We should just go look at it now. It doesn't take long to form an opinion. Is it a time for more power and less hassle from WordPress without breaking the bank?
What? Okay, I already hate it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just go hire a copywriter.
I know. It's like, and I was
not a copy blogger, a copywriter.
Yeah, so I was about to ask Phil, is that a paid invitation or a agreed invitation?
I think we're probably not in the control group. We're probably getting one of the test variations, Leslie. They may be testing some automated headline spinner or some kind of advanced technology over there. Okay. We shouldn't judge based on that, but I don't know anything about it. Brian's done some amazing stuff. I mean, the teaching sales course that he did, I don't know, 400 years ago or whatever, it was a fantastic, well-paced. I mean, it was great, but this sounds like some kind of WordPress thing, which makes it in the tech department. Leslie, take over.
Well, it doesn't sound like it did anything I would want to do, so that's a little problem. I mean, I'm not even grabbed by the headline. I'm not sure what it does. So, if you don't, important safety tip, right? I mean, you got to get people on the hook. If the hook doesn't resonate with them, then they're gone. That's where bounces come from. So, they didn't get one with a headline. I don't even know what it does.
You did not have you at hello.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So
I'm still scrolling, and I don't know what it does.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
what is it?
A lot of testimonials, though.
Right, exactly. It's like, for what?
And these certainly aren't from the usual suspects where they already have their pictures ready to go for the next sales letter. I'm sorry, what? I'm still muted, right?
Don't you know it's an next generation online marketing and sales solution? What's so hard to understand?
Let's see, other than that, that's a bunch of bibbly bobbly boo about nothing.
Bippity boppity boo.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to like figure out what it is or does before I could give you much of an opinion. Don't pull my hair out over a patchwork of plugins, themes, and complicated code. So I guess they're recommending I don't use WordPress.
Yeah,
Boom.
that doesn't really do it for me either. Yeah, I don't get it.
What did Keith hope this was going to accomplish for him? Why is he asking us our opinion?
I don't know, but I mean, I bet there's somebody in our group out in the Skype chat at least that knows more about this than we do, because we've got actual WordPress experts, and we're just like, we play WordPress clowns mostly.
Mostly, we played it on TV. Yeah.
Played it on the Hangout.
Yeah.
We didn't even make it to TV.
I don't like the fact that when I click the Take the Tour button, it took me to a screen that said that my account is set up. Yeah, okay, let's make that. Well, it's very convenient, though, right? I guess.
One-click account setup.
Yeah. So that's zero sign-on, they call it. Yeah. So now, Michelle, didn't we? We'll go ahead and put Andy on the spot here since he's on the air. And so, weren't we going to talk to Andy about some amazing result he got?
I'm sorry, Leslie.
Well, I mean, one of the things on my list from, I don't know, 2 or 3 staff meetings ago was to interview Andy about some amazing result.
Oh, that's right, Andy. So let's put you on the spot. Since working with project management, you've gotten a couple of things handled that have sort of been more challenging, yes or no? How's that for just straight out?
Some things that I've been working on are challenging.
They aren't now because you've had somebody kicking you in the butt.
Oh, yes, that's been very helpful actually. To get in there and just get some things done and stay on it. So I do appreciate your help on that. But we've been working hard on getting our I guess the autoresponder series. That was one of the very first things we did. It's been sitting that way for probably 5 years. And we finally got in there and changed it. Of course, I didn't know I needed to change it until I started working with you guys. But even after Dan, like early on, said, "Hey, you need to get that done." But just having the Trello, and it's a pretty nice, it's really a nice format as far as that project manager software,
right.
Trello, and you're good about getting in there and telling me what I need to do. And I usually spend a day or two a week, or not a whole day, but a couple days a week. I'll spend 1 or 2 hours just doing those activities that we put in there. We kind of go back and forth, so it's been a nice way to correspond. But there have been a couple things that just were more technical that I haven't been able to get done yet. Like the one thing is the software I'm using for my sales for my shopping cart, and trying to get that done as far as the tracking. So as somebody goes into the shopping cart all the way through, tracking their sale, I've had a struggle with that, but we've been able to correspond about that as far as what's going on with it and everything. So
Andy, what shopping cart do you use?
It's called Nanocast.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
Leslie and I were just talking about what a wonderful product that is this morning.
Is that what you said? I may have misheard that, but okay. Maybe that was my mistake. Well, and so are you happy with that platform the way it is?
I really like it actually. It does. It's not the interface is not always the easiest to use, but but I'm happy with what it provides, and I don't know if maybe there's other software that can do the same thing, and it's probably more than just a shopping cart, but I'm happy with it. One of the things that I really wanted, I followed suit with another gentleman that's in a different area, which is more called the PMI exam.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I really wanted with the PE and studying for it was people are really busy, and I wanted people to be able to study on the fly or in a mobile sense, and so be able to take their laptop or their iPad or what have you, and be able to prepare for the exam. And so that was why it's a podcast or videocast based delivery. So you can basically subscribe as a podcast to the videos that we provide.
Right.
And you can take that with you on your lunch break or at the coffee house, which you could do that, I guess, with any kind of video nowadays with Wi-Fi being available. But that's not truly, in my mind, a mobile, because you have to stream it. So.
Yep. That's, and the internet everywhere is not really exactly truth in advertising. And so,
all internets are not created equally.
yeah. And so, I mean, Michelle, I'm sure one of the things you're working on with Andy is about tracking through the steps in the shopping cart. Is that right?
We are working on and Andy's probably better to say it, but we've gotten the front end of the funnel. All the tracking is set up on that. Now that's the tech part. That's the problem, is getting that last little snippet of code working properly on the Nanocast. So that's the last little bit that Andy just sort of shared there.
And I'll tell you the biggest thing that Nanocast has afforded me, and again, this could be done with other systems as well, has been the affiliate system that it has. And I just started really making some sales on the class. I sold 2 or 3 myself through my site, but the majority of my sales, probably 12 or 13 over the past 3 months, which isn't a ton, but it's more than I've ever sold, has been through affiliates.
Mm.
So they, by having that affiliate network and it tracks everything, so it does that as well. And then another thing I like about it too is as soon as you sign up, you're by default an affiliate. And so if somebody's taking the exam, they can say, here, use this link, and that'll save them, $20, or give them a $50 check kind of thing. So that's a nice little thing to have in the system.
Right. Interesting.
In your case, I think having customers empowered to be affiliates is probably not a bad idea, because they are pretty good candidates to refer a friend who actually will want to take the exam too.
Yeah, one of the things I was wondering, Michelle, in talking about this is whether or not is there difficulty in getting the tracking code through all the cart. I know it's one of the things I've been working on, recently with some of our private clients and been developing content around as well, is in getting tracking in third-party carts, but not on your website. Oftentimes it's really challenging. And Google Tag Manager looks to be, and the extent of which I've played with it so far, I've not found anything that says this is not true. It looks like this general-purpose Swiss Army knife solution to getting tracking in third-party carts.
Okay.
If we can get the GTM code onto the cart page in the third-party cart, then we can do almost anything imaginable. We can rearrange buttons, change the graphics, change the text, make stuff disappear, make it reappear. Pretty much anything you would want to do, almost anything you want to do in cart design, you can do with Google Tag Manager once you get the Tag Manager code on that page. And most of the carts I'm familiar with, you at least have some ability to get code on the page because they're accustomed to being able to put analytics code on the page. And the only trick is whether or not you're restricted to the head section or where you can put it at the end of the body, because Google Tag Manager is asynchronous at the end of the body. But so that's something we should talk about as you're working with folks like Andy. I've got some content on it now, and Dan and I have talked about the fact we need to get some more put together about that, because it's a common problem that we have pretty much across the board. Every one of our coaching and private clients has a lack of tracking.
Right.
And Tag Manager just makes so much stuff easier.
I missed that, Michelle. Say again. I think you're muted.
I said, yeah, and it is frustrating for him as well because he can see up to this point what all's happening, and then you can't see that any further. What might be going on past that? So.
Right. Yeah, it's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I found somebody to do that for me on Odesk, and he needed, of course, all the login information for analytics in my site and Nanocast, and also my FTP. So, but it was gonna take him about 8 hours to do it, to coordinate those two things, to be able to get the analytics, my site, and Nanocast to be talking.
That seems. Did he say that he was going to use Google Tag Manager to do that?
No, we didn't talk about that at all. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Google Tag Manager. It makes the integration so much easier. So you take one piece of code, which is the Google Tag Manager code, and you place that on a page. And then all of the other modifications you do are in the Google Tag Manager interface, not in the cart that you're implementing. And so it should take, it'll take longer than 8 minutes, but way less than 8 hours, put it that way.
Okay.
And generally speaking, if there is a way to drop analytics code on the page, then instead of dropping analytics, you just drop Google Tag Manager code and you're done. That's assuming that it was designed that they support the async code, which goes to the bottom of the page, right? So just nice, Dan. Okay, let's look at Dan. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's really lovely. So, but as long as there's a way to get a piece of JavaScript just prior to the end body, then everything else you need to do, it's in the GTM interface.
So is that within analytics? It's called Tag Manager?
No, it's a completely separate app, naturally, right? And so, like I said, it's on my to-do list. I've done some content for it for the LL3 Fast Track folks, and I need to take that and pull it out and make it standalone, for everybody else to take a look at. And there's some other stuff that we need to do about that. But
there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with it besides just analytics stuff. Is kind of the point.
Yeah.
You can work it in to help you do remarketing and all kinds of fancy stuff.
Yeah, and so the concept, at least, is that once you have think subroutine calls, right? And so if you were to have like one piece of code on your page that called all of the other pieces, so it called analytics, it called crazy egg, called whatever else you needed, like remarketing code. Well, that's the way Google Tag Manager is being built. So Google Tag Manager, you drop that piece of code on your page, and then it connects to the GTM servers and executes all of the code you configured for that page. And so you say, for any page beginning with /, okay, that'd be all of them, I want to run this set of code. For all of the pages that start with /store, for example, I want to run this set of code. And so all of that code, though, is stuffed out on the GTM interface instead of in your pages, which means you don't have to have, and the way they advertise it is you don't have to have your IT department go add code to your pages. Instead, you can add that code yourself, which is going to scare the hell out of most IT departments at big organizations, by the way.
But if you don't have to tell them that you're doing that, though, Leslie. That's the beauty of this. Is that you just tell the IT manager, I just need this tag manager code on here. That tracks stuff. That's it.
Pay no attention to the documentation for what that does.
Well, don't give it to them, right?
Indeed.
Tell them it's a hurry.
Yeah. But in the context of third-party carts in particular, oftentimes we're so limited in how much we can do and where we can do it and all that kind of thing. For example, routinely, I tell our clients, like, okay, I want to know how many people are clicking that button or taking that option in your checkout process, and they have no way to do it. I said, well, all you have to do is do an on-click equal la 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 la, right? And they can't do it because they don't have that much control over the cart page.
Right.
And now in Google Tag Manager, I just run a piece of arbitrary JavaScript that reaches out with a DOM query, finds that button, and changes it to have an on-click event. Boom. Done. Don't have to talk to the cart vendor at all. As soon as I get Google Tag Manager code, I could display a blank page, right? Just to add the display none to the body tag. Boom, it's gone. Everything's disappeared.
We should test that.
Yeah. I wonder if that would convert better or worse.
Just one big buy button, that's all.
Yes, one big buy now. We don't even need to have a card, really, right?
Very minimal interface.
Let's see. I don't see any more. Don't see any more actual questions here. Yes, we'll go live on YouTube. Will the chat be available later? I don't think that's true, though. I don't think the chat will be available later.
I don't think any of that stuff gets saved. I certainly hope not.
That dissipates with the jam and the
I
feedback.
don't need that much of a historical record.
I don't think so. Do we want to answer one more Lifeline question before we go? Do we have one?
We don't have one. Well, not that I saw.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow, we're caught up on Lifeline questions?
Well, I don't know that they're all posted or if they've all been answered, but there were none specifically for this call.
Ah, I see.
Very good then.
More, I can go look.
Well, I think we've exceeded our hour,
We have by 7 minutes. Just,
which means that I'm about ready to pumpkin.
okay, cool.
So what's going to happen now with the Hangouts? Are they going to start weekly? When are they going to start? What day are they going to be on? And what time?
I'm ready to start doing this same time every week. Me, but that's just me.
That's what you do. Yeah. Well, we'll have to actually get some questions for get a little more content. Okay. That would be a good idea. Okay, I'm thinking. We should get some stuff to actually do in the Hangout.
Right, some people.
Well, we've accomplished something today, guys. We have folks that are here, and we've answered a few questions, and we've heard how wonderful project management is, and that everybody should have that in their system. But that's a whole nother. That's just me thinking that.
Yeah, that would not be a paid political ad at all. Oh no, it's definitely time to go because now Dan is beginning to add Google effects.
That's your warning that it's time to go. All right, before I put a mustache on you.
Thank our invited guest, our special invited guest. Oh, here we go.
That wasn't me.
I'm not coming back.
Deborah Shandy. And so.
Use an angel, Dan. Fix it.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Okay.
It's Corey.
Is it Corey? There could be.
I was the quiet one.
That's oftentimes the case.
Tell you what, I stepped up and I stepped up to the plate, and this is what I get.
I know, horns, right? Jeez, I tell you. So Terry's asking, will this be the regular time? I already have Wednesday and Thursday at noon with Braintrust. Wednesday and Thursday at noon with Braintrust.
Yeah, my plan is for it to be Tuesdays. So.
Okay. So you want
to got to show up.
He has stuff booked on Wednesday and Thursday at noon with us.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why we're not doing it the same time as the consultants call on Thursday, for example, because that would be rude.
That would be difficult to manage too. Okay, so good. All right. Well, okay. Again, thanks, Andy, for showing up, stepping up to the plate, and having horns on your head. That's really awesome. And I guess.
Thanks to Phil and Walt for submitting their questions beforehand.
Yes, that's true. For the people who submitted.
And vote to name this the Braintrust Hour of Power.
Yes, and so.
And thank you, Leslie, for not screwing it up this time.
Yes, and so I thought power might actually, it could expand to something like powerful online user recruitment. And that was kind of a first path. I'm sure I could come up with something like user recreation. It could be user recreation. Powerful online.
Yeah, it turned out on consulting the dictionary I may have used the wrong word.
Oh, that's not impossible, I suppose. Okay. All right. Well, very good. So I think it's a wrap. Why don't we come back next week and do it again? See if it works 2 times in a row. You good with that?
Thanks for the help, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Andy.
Guys.
Thanks a lot, Andy. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Stopping broadcast.